Welcome back to Trojan Sports Now. Today we're going to talk a little bit of volleyball action, and with this is going to be the head coach of Troy, Coach Sonny Kirkpatrick. Coach, thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Jonathan.
And you've already got your season started with a weekend tournament in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. What were your thoughts on that tournament?
It showed us areas we needed to work on. Up until the first competition, you don't really know. I mean, you've got ideas, but until you play against competition that is going to attack you, right, it's easy for players to kind of know where each other, how they do things. So the biggest change that we typically have, it's just like football from week 1 to week 2, because your weaknesses are exposed and you just need to continue to get better at them. And I really didn't think we played extremely well last weekend. Had some tough matches in there, but we got better for Monday, and that was all that was matter. All that was important.
And speaking of Monday, you came back your first ever match at Trojan Arena. What was that experience like?
It was fabulous. The girls really enjoyed playing in the arena. So glad to call it our home floor, and we're going to do our best to try to defend it every time we get out there. And
you picked up a win against Georgia Southern, a 3-set win. What was that like?
It was good. They're a new team next year coming into the Sun Belt. We had never beaten them before. So, for us to get a win against a new incoming team, as well as our first win, to keep our win streak at a modest 2, it was really good. We worked really hard to get to that point, and it was good to see that a lot of the things that we've been doing in practice really kind of came through in that match.
And it was a big win for you, but you didn't even realize it was a milestone win. It ended up being your 100th career win here at Troy. What was that like for you?
It's not about me. It just means I've been here for a long time to get that many wins, and it was more a team win. I mean, they put all the sweat and the hard work into it. I just kind of stand there and do what I need to do. But it was great for them. They really earned that. It was a tight match. We had to make plays when it counted, and it was good to see us be able to do that. And in a competitive environment like that, it's going to only benefit us. For me, it's special. The special thing is getting a call from Dr. Hawkins and having him congratulate me and congratulate the team. And I appreciated him taking time out of his schedule to do that. He's an extremely busy man, but we know he's also our number one fan. So that was the bright spot.
Now you're going to be back on the road this week and going up to Auburn for another tournament. What's that one going to be like?
It's going to be tough. Wisconsin Green Bay's the first team we play, and while they're 1-2 right now, they lost to 2 teams that go to the NCAA tournament in 5. So we know that our work is really going to be cut out for us to compete in that match. If we do the things we did Monday night and we feed our strengths, then I think we've got a really good shot to win. If we don't, if we let them kind of dictate play and kind of force us to do things we don't want to do, then it'll be really tough. But that's a good team. Mercer's the next match, and honestly, I've not watched any video on them yet. We're really concerning ourselves with Green Bay at this point. We'll worry about them after the match. And then Auburn is our match on Friday night and prime time at their campus, and it'll be exciting. We've never had an opportunity to beat them either, and they've had a really good beginning in the season. They beat Nebraska, who's a top 10 team in the nation. They beat St. Louis, who's a team that's gone to NCAA. So we're going to have our work cut out for us this weekend.
And I've heard you say in the past that you like to kind of schedule hard before you get to the conference slate, and you've done that again this year, going to Auburn, Southern Miss to start the season. Then you got Georgia Tech the following weekend, and then Clemson. So, I mean, it's not going to be easy for your team this year. Can you kind of give us a highlight of those next 2 tournaments as well?
Well, we had a good year last year, and in order for us to get better, we need to schedule better competition. And I think we're at the point where we can compete at that level. Building a program basically from the ground up takes a bunch of different steps, and I think we're at kind of the middle step right now where we're trying to be able to beat some of those teams and realistically beat those teams. And it just comes down to us being disciplined and doing what we need to do to win. We don't want to play teams that aren't going to prepare us for conference. And by stepping up, it gives us the opportunity to be ready for a Western Kentucky, for Texas State, and some of the other teams in the conference. And it pushes us to be better every time we step on the floor. And that's ultimately what any game's about, much less volleyball.
And speaking of Western Kentucky, that is going to be your first opponent when you kick off the Sun Belt slate, and that's at the end of September. It's going to be September 27th, a Saturday, so a good chance for fans to get out there against a top 25 ranked team.
It is. They had a great weekend. They beat Purdue last weekend, who was a top 16 team, and Western Kentucky's the benchmark for our conference, and that's where we're trying to get to, and that's why we've kind of raised our competition level. We don't fear them. We respect the heck out of them, but we also know that if we play to our capabilities, we can compete with anybody that we play.
Now, there's been some other changes in the Sun Belt. Middle Tennessee's out. FIU, FAU are both out. But you've got some newcomers coming in Georgia State, Texas Arlington, Texas State. What are those teams going to bring to the Sun Belt?
Well, Texas State's a really good squad. I've never seen UT Arlington play. Georgia State is going to be very tough as well, coming in for the first year. It just raises the level of play in the Sun Belt. Texas State's a traditional team that has gone to the NCAAs. Last year they didn't. They were actually in the WAC conference last year. But the years before that, they've gone to the NCAAs. And anytime you add a team of that caliber to the conference, it benefits the conference overall. We don't have any preconceived notions. We know that if we want to win any conference match, we need to play at our best and try to make them kind of play outside of their comfort zone. But the quality of play is going to be really, really good.
Now, is that something with those new teams coming in that over the summer you were trying to find video on them and trying to see what they're going to bring? Or, are you just going to go into it kind of a little blind and then wait till that week of the game to see what they have?
We have a video exchange system that we have to put all of our videos online for the conference schools to see. So for us to get video on them last year really doesn't do us any good because everybody changes. We've started to get some video on some opponents that we have, and we typically wait till the week of, especially conference matches, to really start breaking them down and studying them. So the week before Western Kentucky, we'll start getting as much film as we can on Monday and Tuesday and break that down for our match on Friday.
Now, I know a lot of people think film, they think of football. You're trying to break down your opponent's tendencies and things like that. Is that something you do with volleyball? You're going to try to watch every single player, see what they do, see what kind of formations they're running? Because, I learned something from you. In volleyball, you've got formations, you've got different defenses. As a casual fan, you don't necessarily know that.
Right. It's very similar. Sometimes hitters have tendencies, and in watching them on video, we chart where they like to attack. If they like to attack down the line, if they go cross court, if they push balls here, if they push balls there, what are their blocking schemes like? How do they set their defense up? We try to see where we can attack them and where they're going to try to attack us. And we'll try to base our practices around what they're going to do against us so that we can be ready for it. We also kind of put not a practice team, but a scout squad on the other side and have the other team run similar offense to what the teams we play. So it is very similar. Okay.
Now, going back to some of the new teams, it's going to also change the way you do things just logistically wise in the way you travel. You've been to the Florida Atlantics and the FIUs, which is not an easy trip, but now you're going to have to go out to Texas. How is that going to change the way you do things?
We just have to be able to budget time into the schedule. We know that we're going to have to fly out there, and then logistically we've got to get a bus to pick us up at the airport and take us down to San Marcos, which is about 4 hours from Dallas, and then to play that night, and then to go to Dallas the next day for an off day where we get a chance to kind of game plan for UT Arlington. So logistically it's just a little bit different than what we're used to. I know the girls will be excited to fly. We have not flown in a couple years, so it'll be first time for a lot of them. But it's basically the same thing. We just have a little bit bigger trip, and we need to make sure that we pack a little bit extra stuff to make sure we're ready for the entire trip.
Now, we mentioned earlier about this being your first year in Trojan Arena, and you've been in Sartain for so long. What are the differences like playing in the two venues?
First off, the lighting is entirely different. Right. It's like going out on a cloudy day in Sartain and going out when there's not a cloud in the sky in the new Trojan Arena. Depth perception's a big thing too. With the arena being as big as it is, it took our players a little while to get used to the ball, especially in serve receive, coming at them and being able to judge where it is in space. So anytime we can get out on the main floor, we definitely try to do that. But I mean, it's just, the venue's amazing. Georgia Southern's coach was raving about it and wanted to take pictures to send back to their administration. So, Dr. Hawkins and the administration here just did a wonderful job in planning on building that arena and in the completion of it. And I can't wait to have the conference teams come in, and especially for the Sun Belt tournament. Now,
you've been here for a while, and you've had to recruit to Sartain, but now being able to recruit to this new venue, how has that helped?
It's helped quite a bit. What all players have to do is just come in and they're mesmerized.
Right.
And honestly, we don't have to do much of a job of trying to sell our program.
Right.
The university itself, the campus, and taking them into Trojan Arena, pretty much we know that they're coming before they leave. So it's a great problem to have.
Now, looking way ahead to the conference tournament, it's going to be here this year. What's that going to be like?
It'll be exciting. For one, just bringing the economic aspect into Troy itself is a huge boost for our city. Playing at home, getting to sleep in your own bed, knowing your locker room, knowing the intricacies of the arena,
right,
is definitely a benefit. The ball floats a little differently in there with the air conditioning at a certain point during the day. So we've started to understand that, and other teams don't necessarily know that.
Right.
Being able to get into the film room and watch film on the teams that we're playing and have the practice gym, and it's going to be wonderful. We are really looking forward to it, and unfortunately, though, it's 2.5 months away, so we're trying not to look that far ahead. But anytime you can host at home, to have your fans here yelling for you is just an invaluable experience, and it's something that our team can really look back on and say, we hosted the first volleyball tournament when the arena was open.
All right, Coach. Well, good luck on this season, and thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Jonathan. Go Trojans.
Stay tuned for what's coming up this week in Troy Sports.